Welcome to Career Launch Live, sponsored by Junco, a great place to find diverse talent. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the final episode of the season. I could not be more excited about my guest today. This is somebody who inspires me on a continuous basis. I cannot wait to have a conversation with her. Today, we're going to be talking about embracing your influence. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on, the one and only Miss Dion Johnson. Welcome.
Lovely to be here with you, Catherine.
Thank you. I am so excited for this conversation. I follow you and I always love your posts because I swear they come at the exact moment I need to see them in my day. It's like
so many people say that. That's a good thing.
it is. It is. It's a wonderful thing. So tell us first of all a little bit about you and your background and what you do.
So, Dion Johnson, I'm the author of this book, Influential Woman, that nearly killed me to write, but I wrote it because I care passionately about supporting women in leadership, senior leadership in particular. So my work is really all about supporting CEOs, directors, heads, to work on being more visible in their role, being more authentic in their role, being more vocal in their role, so that they can lead the kind of change that's on their heart to lead. Because I know that we women, we love to lead. We love to we've got ideas about how we want our world to get better, and so I like to help the women that I serve to just show up more powerfully, more influentially in their role. And I've kind of landed on this work through my own journey as a woman who really cares deeply about world change, who really cares deeply about inequality and injustice and making things better in the marketplace. So I've been on my own journey from midwifery to local government to business owner, and on that journey I've been finding my own voice, and I've been doing my own work, and finding my own way. So it all kind of comes together in this amazing little kind of juicy life that I'm living right.
I love that, and I love your journey because it has been a very interesting and abstract, non-linear journey, which are kind of the best ones to have. Mine's very different, but very much the same way. It's just kind of taken lots of little curves and twists and all that, and it's been fascinating. And I think that as one of my favorite humans once said to me, Mervyn Kennedy McFoy, he said the world would be so magnificent if women had a greater input.
Yeah.
And I thought, I like that. I do. And maybe it's just because I'm a woman that I like that, but I think we're pretty genius. We have a lot to contribute.
And I agree. I believe in womanity. I like to say womanity. I believe in the power of womanity. I believe that we are the key to unlocking the new, better normal that we're all after right now, post-pandemic. And I also know that, I saw womanity. I spent a lot of years as a midwife. So I was in the labor room. I was alongside women at a time when perhaps the most womanly deed of all was happening. And, I saw her power. I saw her strength. I saw that special wiring that knows things that are unknowable, and that can find answers to complicated things, and can do really hard things even when she's compromised or in pain or struggling somehow. That I really believe in the power of this thing called womanity. And when I learned about it in the labor room, I would often think, especially when I left midwifery and went into the corporate space, I would often think, what would happen if we could bottle that power, if we could take that strength, that resilience, that intuitive knowing, wisdom that I saw and I call womanity. What if we could take that to the boardroom? What if we could take that to high-level conversations about how we shape culture, or how we interpret data, or set the priorities and agendas, or tackle hard problems? Like, suppose we took that to those conversations, and like that's really
absolutely
the dream that drives me every day.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And it is exciting. And I will say that there is something, and I've seen it over the years in my career. There is something unique that women bring, that men bring, that people from different communities, LGBTQIA, neurodiverse, every community has very specific gifts. And then of course we're all kind of hybrids of these communities. So it's
Yeah,
fascinating. But as a woman, and I actually was just creating a case study pertaining to the presumption of a female aggression in the workplace, and
yeah,
the myth of female aggression in the workplace and what it actually is and what causes that myth and all of that. And it's been a very interesting. I love to learn. I love facts, right? And it's very interesting because you can experience something, but then when you actually see that yes, there is verifiable data
yeah,
behind it, right? And I think what's fascinating too is that people have always seen women in these supporting roles, right? So there's kind of a saying that men are doers and women are supporters, right? That used to kind of be the mentality. Well, very quickly that's changing, and to be fair to our society, it's happened very rapidly. So I think it's kind of taking our brains a while to catch up, because cultural norms um are ingrained, right? They're things that, and they're there for a reason, right? They're there for to kind of create a sense of safety, but we're changing so rapidly that our minds have to catch up to that. So how do you start that journey, to change, both as a woman or as a man working with women? How do you work to change your mindset?
I think whether you're a man or a woman, I think there's this real need for us to stop a minute and think about who we really are. Think about what we really want. Think about what we really need to be part of what we really want, and develop the character of one who can be in the world but loving and taking care of ourselves simultaneously. So this is really powerful stuff, because here's the thing: the thing that wears us out, that burns us out, that breaks us down, that helps us to punch below our weight or to have less than optimal impact, is when we deviate from who we really are, or what we really need, in order to try and satisfy some kind of expectation within the culture or within the
I
organization.
want to hit on that really quick before you
Yeah,
go on, and I want to hear the rest of your thought, but I want to hit on that. I talk about this all the time, about the importance of letting people process information and work in a way that is natural to them. Your brain needs that. It's fact. I mean, Psychology Today has put out articles, Harvard has, there's a few others, about the importance of letting your brain work naturally and work in a way that is functional for you and the things that make you happy. And I always talk about aligning with your missions when you're
yeah.
job hunting and all that, because when you do something that feels natural and that makes you happy, it changes your productivity and it changes your quality of life.
Yeah, I think that you're saying so many things all at once. But you said that, letting people be themselves. I think that what I'm talking about is that we giving ourselves permission to demand that we're allowed
Right.
to be ourselves. And that's a different, like, it's now a sense of agency that we're developing, that we decide, that we work on building the capacity to steward our own needs, to steward how we're showing up in the world. And I don't think we spend enough time really developing that muscle of learning who we are, learning about what we need, learning about what we're here for, and taking the responsibility for stewarding that path. And
I
I think that,
agree 100%. I think that's so beautiful. And that's what I wanted to hit on, is I always talk about kind of the other side and that businesses need to allow this. But the truth is, have your own voice, step up, say, this is who I am, this is what I have going on, and showcase who you are all the time.
and of course, that voice has been undermined for centuries
Hmm.
in the case of women. That
Yeah.
voice that says, this is who I am, this is what I think, that voice has been undermined, like for centuries, that we have been silenced, we've been scrutinized over centuries. And so now the work is finding that voice again and mastering it. Often I find that some of us don't know how to use that voice at all, and some of us are using it like a bull in a china shop,
Which
and
is
there's
also not good.
which is also counterproductive to what we want to experience. And so there's a kind of I'm calling people to the intention of mastering using our voice, mastering showing up for real. I call it show up mastery. Mastering being you, mastering becoming the you that you are being called to be, or you were born to be. Like, this here is work that I think everyone should be opting into with eyes wide open, consciously,
Yes.
so that we can be evolving. Because that's the other thing, is that what is your truth and your way today? When you are part of this process of growing and maturing and evolving and developing, that voice changes, that the viewpoints change, your values change, your way changes. And I think that it's really important that we're opting in to self-development, to self-awareness, to developing and evolving and maturing. Like, that's a process that's my call. My call is for us as people, not just women, but people, to opt into this continual ongoing development of self.
I like that. I think that and you're right, it has to be very intentional, and it's
Yeah,
perpetual growth. It's being comfortable in your own skin and
yeah,
experience and in your own voice. And to your point, I mean, women have had that stifled for millennia, but I
yeah,
don't want to discredit what men have also, different males have also gone through. People of color, people in
yeah,
different communities have also experienced some of that stifling. And I think that even, um, I had this conversation recently with a friend of mine who's in DE and I work, who said that, even a lot of white men are suppressing their own voice
yeah,
for various reasons, various discomforts, various, and so I like that you said it's a calling for everybody,
yeah.
to take that time and do that work. So how do you get that started? What are the actual steps to start that?
I think, first of all, you really have to, I think the point of this, if we just start here, the point of the perpetual growth, the point of the intentional development, is so that we can be all that we're being called to be in the world, is so that we can experience life and leadership in a healthy, productive, effective way. And so I think the call to influence is a very powerful place to start, because when we hear that call to influence, when we hear that call to use our voice, then it challenges us. And oftentimes that challenge to take a stand for something, that challenge, that call to use our voice and say no, or to say this needs to stop, or this needs to start, that's a really great place to begin the process of using your voice, to standing up, to taking a stand, to showing up more influentially. So I always like to say, what can you see happening around you? I like to ask people, what can you see? What's pissing you off right now? What's getting your back up in your space? What needs to shift? What needs to stop?
Right.
What needs to start? Because that's a really great place to cut your teeth on, with this realizing what the work that needs to be done in you in order for you to carry on going,
Right.
to developing. Yeah.
It's true. And I like that. And having that passion for something really does kind of just kick it off. And I think so one of the jumping off points for me in this journey was when I started seeing how messed up the hire process was for all different sorts of reasons. And I just got tired of it because it was so ridiculous to me that
Yeah.
it was so backwards and so biased and just it was just ridiculous. So I
Yeah.
just launched off into this whole other journey. And when I was younger, when I was much younger, I had a I had an experience where actually it was one of what it was kind of tied into right after 9/11 and all that stuff happened, and the way that my school handled that was so discriminatory towards the Muslim population, and it just infuriated me because these people, these other kids, essentially, I was, we were, upper high school, but still kids in my book. we were,
Yeah.
these were my comrades, and they were other human beings, and people were being so nasty to them, and the school was essentially supporting it, and it infuriated me and sent me into this protesting. Like I was a little hippie from birth. I should have been born like for the 60s. It was kind of a shame I wasn't, but it really it really did launch me. So I know exactly what you're talking about, that fire to just get you started.
You honestly, you say so much in your shares. I love that you're describing the systems that are supporting inequality, and that's the thing that really stirs me. And what I know from doing the work that I do is that often people who are in close proximity to those systems are not using their voice. They're not calling the system to an account. And that is why this work, this finding your influence, finding your voice, finding your power to speak up and take a stand is so important. So I just wrote down that I heard you say, I got so tired of it.
Yeah.
I got so tired of it. And what I'm seeing with the people that I work with is that there's this dilemma, there's this dichotomy, that they see things that aren't working in the system that seem so giant and so entrenched and so established. And that really there's even a question about whether it can change, whether this thing can get better. And then on the other hand, there are women who are juggling all of this workload and juggling all of this home life and spinning all these plates, and we're tired.
Yes.
We've got a lot going on, like we're doing a lot. And so it's almost like, can I even be bothered to call that out? Can I even be bothered to get into that fight? And so,
but it's so important. You have to.
It is so important, and we do have to, and my job is to recognize the things that deplete our got-to-ness about it, the things that things that get in the way of really good people with good intentions just thinking, you know what, that's just too much for me right now. I've got my own life to sort out. I've got my own stuff going on. So that this decision, like hearing the call to be the one who speaks up, or be the one who takes a stand, or be the one who starts the movement, or be the influencer of the change that you want to see. Like, that's what we're really talking about here today. We're talking about how do you, despite all that you've got going on, despite all the isms and the schisms, the power struggles, the professional pains that I like to talk about, the work-life unbalance, all of that, how do I decide that I'm going to be part of shifting things in my proximity?
And it can be small, right? You can start with being better. So for instance, I work in hiring, right? I work in talent acquisition. Be better at interviewing, be more inclusive, be stronger at it, understand what actually needs to be discussed versus all what I call the hooey points. There's nonsensical, just things that people ask that have nothing to do with anything. And start there. And then, and then develop a new technology, or develop a new process, or reach out and get involved. But you can start so small.
I think it's about starting with you.
Yes. It's the man in the mirror effect, right? It's the man in the mirror effect.
Yeah. So, have you heard those stories about the women who, when I was writing my book, I read lots of stories like this, where women who told the story of washing the dishes up at the kitchen window, like looking out over on the street, and then hearing this colossal bang and realizing that their child had been run over by a car or something, and just rushing out of the kitchen and lifting this car off their child, it's nonsensical, like this. They call it hysterical strength,
Yes.
that somehow the situation presents itself, and then this power shows up that you didn't know that you had. This power that if you had logically sat at the kitchen sink thinking, but the car weighs a ton. My little boy's underneath it. Like, if you'd have done it logically, it wouldn't make any sense. But because you don't
Right.
do it logically, and because you just know that it's something that you have to do, you move towards it, and this power comes that you didn't know that you had. I liken this, what we're talking about, to preparing for that time when the power will be needed, when you need to do the big thing. You don't start by lifting the car. You start by
Right.
preparing. You start by, gently flexing your muscles of showing up, speaking your truth. You start with the relationship with your wife or your children or your
Right.
boss. You
Right.
start by showing up for real right now, right here, with what you're dealing with. So I know people who are watching this, they're dealing with stuff in their workplace, power struggles. They're dealing with things in their team. I think you start there. You start with where the pain is in your showing up in your life right now, and you begin to learn how to drop your masks and speak your truth right here in this small thing, this insignificant thing, this irritating thing, this minuscule thing. And as you develop the muscle of showing up, as you develop the muscle of speaking up, as you develop the muscle of shaking things up, and it challenges us on so many levels to do this, you start to build this muscle. And soon, I've had story upon story. I've seen this happen in my own life and in other people's lives, that soon, as you start to develop this muscle, soon you're growing in without even realizing it.
Right.
Soon you're developing a conviction. You're developing a command. You're developing this authority around somebody who's able to speak their truth. And you're also developing the compassion and the love that it takes to influence people. If you start right here, right now, and that's really what I've come to ask everyone to do, is just start using their voice right here, right now, in the stuff that's hurting you right here, right now. Before you can take on the big stuff, you got to start right here.
Right. Just start with, like you said, even your marriage, just,
Yeah.
connecting and communicating differently, communicating more effectively.
Yeah.
And even in the workplace, I do a lot of work around, people work and all of that. If you have a pain point, to Dion's point, go start talking to them, prepare, have that conversation, learn to listen with really listen when with intent to learn, not just listen to hear, to argue, but listen with intent to learn and to grow. And it makes such a difference. And I want to hit on that too, that
Yeah.
when you learn to better absorb the experiences of others and the points of view of others, it's not about that you need to change, right? It's about better understanding of how to communicate with those around you and how to relate to those humans around you.
I think the
And
question has to be, how am I co-creating this situation?
yes, right.
How am I part of this? And seeing and being prepared to, I always say to my clients, what you really need to develop your influence is you need a mirror and you need a spotlight. You need to
Yes.
shine the spotlight on yourself, and then get a mirror and see, how are you co-creating the world that you're living in, the organization that you're working in, the home that you're living in, the marriage that you're working. How am I co-creating the great stuff around this and the not so great stuff around this? Like, this self inventory is where influence development really starts. You start to develop the courage to see the not so great things about yourself if you're looking for them. Most people aren't. They're not going like this: what's wrong with the system, or what's wrong with those
Right.
people, or what's wrong with the chief exec, or what's wrong with the team, or what's. And I think that
Start
when you
here.
start here,
Start here.
start here.
I think that's so beautiful. And I like the spotlight in the mirror because that's a very good image, good
Yeah.
mental image of that. And you do have to all the introspective. So one of the things that I've started doing, because I caught myself, is, it's easy to say, well, this person's discriminating, or this person has bias, or this person, we all do. And we all could be selfish. It's easy to point at somebody else and say, they're being selfish, they're being this and that. but stopping and looking inside and realizing, okay, this is something I could be doing better. This is something where I need to grow. This is, oh, all of a sudden you'll start going, oh, wait, this isn't, and you do train yourself. And then your brain starts doing that naturally. You start to challenge your own reactions to things. Is
Yeah.
this reasonable? Is this something, and you start to just have a whole new way of thinking. And
Yeah.
it's very exciting. So kind of my final question to you, because I think that it's such a beautiful journey to go on, an important journey to go on. So as somebody is experiencing this internal growth, and they're starting with themselves and all, what do you do with the emotions of all of that, right? Because yes, there's the intellectual aspect that's wonderful, but the emotions can get overwhelming going through that
Right.
process. So how do you handle those emotions?
Community, community, community. And we've got to get really, really, we've got to say yes to this process first. Say yes to this process. Otherwise, we'll just avoid the pain. Like we'll just find really good ways to just, like, it will always be their problem, nothing to do with me. So say yes to the process, and then really decide that you're going to get the support you need. Create the support network, that that places where you can be yourself and talk about what you're really going through. You need people in your life who can call you out on your BS. You need people in your
Yes.
life who can challenge you. You need people in your life who can cheer you on. People in your life can create space for you to lose your composure and not think any less of you. Like, this is the problem when we don't create this kind of community, is that we spill out. We're spilling out, and we can see it. Everybody watching this will have experiences of people just spilling out emotionally all over the place.
Yep.
In the workplace. And because we don't take great responsibility of giving us, of managing that need that we have for a safe place to manage our emotions, to see things differently, to lose our composure. So community, community, community is critical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Yes.
talk about find your tribe, find
Yeah.
your people. and
Yeah.
and you don't have to have one person that's all encompassing. To Dion's point, have different people that give you space for different things, that are your rah-rahs, that call you out, that are your mirror when you need them to be. And also I want to also give a voice that therapy can also be. Therapy, people think that therapy is just for if you're sad or depressed. Oh, no, no, no. It could be a great guiding point in
Yeah.
in a mental and emotional journey. So as we conclude here, and it's been a wonderful episode. Thank you so much for joining me for this final episode of the season. Tell us a little bit about how people can find you, where they can find your book, how they can connect.
So my book, Influential Woman, is everywhere that they sell books. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, everywhere that they sell books. You can get me in social media land. I hang out on LinkedIn. I'm really rubbish at the other forums. I do have a presence there, but it's just, LinkedIn's my jam. So come and hang out with me on LinkedIn. And my website is my website is thewomanologist.com, and my email is connect@thewomanologist.com. And I'm really open to connecting with anyone who really wants to develop their influential voice, really wants to be seen, really wants to be heard, really wants to be taken seriously. So come hang out.
I love that. And I highly recommend it. She posts beautiful, inspirational, thought-provoking content, and is a wonderful conversationalist. I will tell you that from personal experience. So I want to again thank you, everybody. This is our final episode for the season, but I will be back starting in the end of July. So come join us again then. Until then, everybody, be safe, be at peace, and grow. Just
Yeah.
grow. Happy Friday, everybody.
Bye.